Hello and welcome to Access Asia here on France 24. Coming up, orphaned by the pandemic. Thousands of children in India are not just suffering the loss of parents, but at risk of trauma, abuse, and trafficking. Fears Hong Kong's press is slowly being muzzled. Articles critical of China are being scrapped, online archives expunged, and journalists unable to fight for the truth are quitting their jobs. And scientists are baffled as to why a herd of wild elephants has trekked 500 kilometers across China for no apparent reason. Well, sometimes lost in the cacophony of Covid-19, of the death toll, the case count, the economic damage, is how hard it is for survivors who lost someone to carry on. Among those feeling the most acute pain are children. In India, the pandemic has created thousands of orphans. Their struggle is not just to cope, but also to avoid falling victim to abuse or human trafficking. Diya, Gupta and Denis report.
Even after months of struggle, India's deadly COVID second wave is nowhere close to ending. This time, more young people have been impacted by the virus, leaving children particularly vulnerable. The Indian government faces a new challenge: to quickly open quarantine centers, like this one created for young girls.
A girl who is found alone without any care and protection has to be kept for a period of 14 days before the next step is followed.
Aside from the basic necessities, the center provides its girls with a balanced diet, medical care, counseling, and activities to keep them engaged. And of course, they regularly test for COVID. But the virus may not be the most dangerous threat.
See, a lot of number of parents are going to lose their job. There is going to be a huge, economic distress in the family, and obviously, more children will be pushed into work. There is a possibility.
Some of the children here will be sent back home, but most will have to be transferred to other childcare facilities. SOS Children's Villages is one of the many homes that take these children in.
Many children who have lost both parents because of COVID came to us. They arrive here extremely depressed. They don't know how to survive. It's like they've lost their childhood somewhere along the way. This is house number 5, with our caretaker Pratibha Kundu. We also have 5 children here who have been badly impacted by COVID.
Amongst the children living in this house are 5 siblings who lost their only parent to COVID a month ago. They were found helpless and hungry on the streets of New Delhi. The caretakers here are called mothers, and they play an integral part in this childcare facility. But not everyone believes that homes like this are a viable, permanent solution. According to a 2018 UNICEF report, there are almost 30 million abandoned or orphaned children in India. Out of that, 500,000 end up in shelters, while just 2,000 make it to the legal adoption pool.
Many shelters, do not put children in the legal adoption. So now, some children have parents, some children have relatives. We need solutions of how the child can go back to the family. But then there are also children in these shelters who are abandoned, who are orphan children with no guardian. These are the children that need to be looked at, very consistently and on a periodic manner and brought into the legal adoption. See, the biggest concern is trafficking, and that's everybody's concern, right? So, and trafficking can take many forms, right? There is sex trafficking, there is child labor, there could be illegal adoptions.
In the past 2 months, dozens of posts about children who lost both parents to COVID were shared on social media. Most included pictures and contact information. While some posts may have been shared by Good Samaritans, adoption pleas like these are illegal and are often created by traffickers as bait. At her NGO, Sonal Kapoor is trying to protect vulnerable children by empowering them.
इसमें से क्या पसंद है? एक अगर तुम्हें चुनना हो तो? ठीक है। इसमें क्या संभाल के रखोगे? खिलौने।
The NGO provides low-income families with basic necessities like food and education for their children. The aim is to reduce the financial desperation that could lead to abuse.
Every day, at least in the urban slums where we are working, we are seeing cases of transactional sex where children are being offered in return of food. Every time a disaster is struck, there's always, the child traffickers network becomes super active, super active.
In India, hundreds of thousands have died of COVID, but millions more are suffering because of the economic repercussions of this crisis. Children are often forgotten, but they will carry these scars for years to come.
Press freedom is one of the pillars of a democratic society, but if editorial independence is lost, what the audience is consuming is no longer truth, but propaganda. And that's what many fear is happening in Hong Kong. Authorities there are making it harder and harder for journalists to publish content that is either overtly political or critical of China. Our team on the ground has more.
It's like something out of a dystopian novel. For several days now, Alex Chan has immersed himself in a world where history is being erased in real time. In April, Hong Kong's public broadcaster RTHK began deleting from its website and YouTube channel all its archives dating to before 2020.
See, I'm on the RTHK YouTube page. For the show Hong Kong Connection, all reports related to the 2019 protests have been wiped.
Long admired for its editorial independence, RTHK is now under new management appointed by the government, actively reversing its journalists' work. Alex Chan is one of hundreds of Hong Kongers who are archiving RTHK content before it's gone for good, to keep documents of the 2019 protests alive.
I've archived a total of 20 documentaries. That's 10 hours of content. I think it was important to archive them because they're historical evidence. I witnessed what happened in Hong Kong in 2019, and I don't think that anybody should be allowed to delete the truth.
Emblematic of the authorities' tightening grip on the press was a large-scale police operation last August at the headquarters of Apple Daily, a popular openly anti-Beijing newspaper. The newsroom was searched, during which the paper's owner, the pro-democracy mogul Jimmy Lai, was marched handcuffed in front of staff. Lai is now in prison, convicted of multiple offences. These pictures were filmed by Apple Daily journalist Charlie Yik.
When I arrived, there were at least 200 police officers in the newsroom. What sticks in my mind is when they brought Jimmy Lai into his office, and they spent an hour rummaging through everything there.
Yik has been working at Apple Daily for 3 years. In that time, he has constantly seen colleagues censor themselves, and the paper's content has changed.
Numerous people make a newspaper, and if each of them self-censor even a little bit, in the end, the news we put out will no longer have the same meaning. Now, when a journalist is given some information, they will self-censor a bit. Then the same thing happens with the editor-in-chief, then the sub-editors, and sometimes the printers. You end up with the newspaper's content being completely different.
Hong Kong has seen a flowering of new media outlets in recent years, many of them pro-democracy, entirely funded by readers.
This is Stand News. We are one of the online media of Hong Kong.
Stand News came to prominence thanks to its coverage of the 2019 protests. It is now a respected force in Hong Kong media and increasingly a target for the authorities.
We all expect our company to be banned in a way in the short future. Maybe they'll freeze our accounts. Maybe they will say that we are an illegal organization. We don't know which way it is. I've been expecting maybe in sometimes I will be put into jail because of what I have done or I have written in the past.
Press freedom in Hong Kong deteriorates year on year. In 10 years, the city has gone from 34th to 80th in Reporters Without Borders press freedom standings.
Well, some 15 elephants in China have captured imaginations and baffled experts. The herd has trekked more than 500 kilometers. Hundreds of emergency workers were scrambled to put out food in hopes of diverting the animals onto a safe path. Scientists say this is the furthest any wild elephants have ever strayed from their habitat. Peter O'Brien has more.
It's not what you want to see at night. 15 elephants wandering past your front door. The troop has reached the outskirts of the huge city of Kunming almost a month after they set off from their nature reserve 500 kilometers away. As they approach more dense urban areas, the danger to both elephant and human increases. Authorities have been trying to funnel them into safer areas using roadblocks.
I was scared. We came out and saw an elephant, which was about 3 meters tall. It really scared us. The baby elephant even ran into a wall there before running away.
They've had an eventful journey, wrecking crops, causing almost €1 million worth of damage, and even welcoming a newborn calf to the group. So why did the elephants cross Yunnan province? Apart from to get to the other side, we don't know much.
It's the first time in history such a situation has happened. Everyone is thinking about the reasons why. It needs to be further observed and studied.
There are several theories. They may have been led astray by an inexperienced troop leader. It may have got too crowded where they came from. There are now 300 wild elephants and counting in southwest Yunnan, and elephants sometimes fan out to avoid conflict over resources. But this doesn't explain why they've come so far. One suggestion is they may simply be following the trail of treats that humans keep leaving out for them to eat.
And finally, out of China, college student Hao Xiaoyang was looking to get the best angle to film the 100-meter dash at a local event, but he failed to even get the fastest sprinter into frame. That's because once the race began, he left the real runners in the dust. Now, this may well be the most impressive feat of sprinting you'll see before the Tokyo Olympics. It's not often a cameraman steals the show. Well, as always, you can find all these stories and more on our website, France24.com. That's it for this edition. Please stay tuned to France 24.